Hello, everybody. It's Joe Ditzel back on the bike for a night ride. Last night, October 15th, it's probably 12:30 in the morning. We're going to ride by some crazy bars here and then take a tour uptown. Folks, how are you doing? I hope everything is good in your world. Hey, I have to tell you this crazy story as we're riding along here. I just couldn't believe it. Check it out. This dude in Montana, was out scouting elk, right? He's out scouting elk. He gets attacked by a grizzly bear. He survives. And then only a few minutes later, he gets attacked again by a grizzly bear. The same bear. What is it with this bear? He survives the second attack, gets in his car, drives to the hospital, saves his own life. This guy's like a modern-day Jeremiah Johnson, this guy. But that's not too far off because he actually knows what he's doing, unlike me and probably you. He is experienced in the backcountry, knows what to do about bears, but still suffered 2 attacks. So listen to this. He knows what he's doing. So one of the things he's doing, he's going through the woods, he's looking for elk, but every 30 seconds he's yelling, hey bear, real loud. And that is to keep them from feeling surprised. You don't want bears and moose. That's the other thing. Look at my video about a moose stomping a robotic lawnmower. That's on this channel. You're going to laugh. But you don't want bears surprised. So he's like, hey, bear. So they know he's in the area. He was still charged by this grizzly when the grizzly saw him. And he didn't know why at first, but then he saw the 2 grizzly cubs. And then he knew exactly what was happening. The immediate lesson here, the quick sidebar lesson is, and this applies to the backwoods, and applies to the big city. Never mess with mama. You play stupid games with mamas, you're going to win stupid prizes. And he wasn't playing games. This guy's an experienced backcountry woodsman. He knows what he's doing. But nonetheless, she was protecting her cubs and charged him. He whips out his bear spray, tries that first, and then he just went into pretending he was dead. He just laid down and pretended he was dead. Now, think about the presence of mind that you need when that happens. Think about the patience and the mental discipline you'd need to do what I would do, which is run like hell. I'd be running like hell and would almost certainly die because of that. But no, this guy, he plays dead. The bear paws at him, messing him up. When a grizzly bear is pounding on you and pawing at you and, rubbing on your head and your body and with their teeth, they're not ripping you apart, let's say, but they're doing some damage to your body when they're just messing around to see if you're dead or not. So he survives that. Right? He survives this first attack. I don't know. The bear went away, whatever. He starts walking back to his car. Now, his car is 3 miles away. 3 miles in the city, well, that's one thing. But that's not necessarily easy for many people. But this guy's walking with injuries to his head. His arm was possibly broken. And he's bleeding. I mean, dripping blood all the way back to his car. But he didn't get very far. He got about 10 minutes away when the bear comes back. Now, what's with this bear? Even if you're a mama, you made your point. You don't need to go over it again and again. The bear attacks him again. And I don't think he had any bear spray at that point. I wasn't there. But just reading the news accounts, it sounds like he just went back into playing dead, at which point the bear did the same thing, started mauling him, grabbing on him, making him more injured, more bruised, more cut up, and of course, more bloody. He survives again. This guy should win some kind of award, some kind of Academy Award for acting. Surviving, that should be a category in the actual Academy Awards. Whether it was on film or not, it should just be in the award show. Probably one of those awards that don't make it to the broadcast for surviving a bear attack. And certainly he would win this year. If somebody beats this story on bear attacks for the competition for this year, I want to hear that story. So he finally gets back to his car. He says, my eyes worked and my legs worked. That's all he needed. And to work the pedals, maybe he somehow just gripped onto the steering wheel with the one working finger, maybe. And drove 17 miles to the hospital. Wow. Survive. I mean, come on. You got to give it up. You got to give it up to this guy. So he was right. His arm was broken and his head was all messed up underneath his hat. The bear had stomped on his head and, ripped up his head. So he is going to survive. Now you may wonder, what do you do other than what you've heard in this story so far? What should you do? So I looked up the National Park Service. This is what they say. Although rare, attacks have occurred, inflicting, yes, not only serious injuries, but death. So, especially a grizzly, a black bear is one thing. That's bad enough. But if you've ever seen a grizzly up close in any of the parks or wherever you might have seen one, woo, that is some kind of animal. All right, so here's what, once a bear, this is off the nps.gov website, National Park Service. Once a bear has noticed you, additional strategies can help from keeping things from escalating. Yeah, that's what we want. We don't want things to escalate. All right, so identify yourself by talking calmly. This is so they know that you are not one of their typical prey animals, that you are, in fact, something they don't want to eat. That is, you are human. They don't want to eat you. Not necessarily. Unless you make them really riled up, then they might consider a snack. You should stand in one place. Don't show fear, like stand your ground, and then wave your arms. Wave your arms and sort of slow up and down, right? Like you're almost like you're waving a plane. Which you might be doing that. You might be waving planes if you don't survive this. If you barely survive, and then you have to wave a plane down and build a help sign. Build a help sign out of sticks and leaves, so that the plane can see it from the air. So pay attention. The whole goal here is so they know you're a human being, and not one of their prey animals. So here's the tough part. It could come closer because they want to smell you and get a better look at you to see what they're dealing with. Now, here's where it gets a little dicey for you, and you're wanting to panic. The bear may stand up on its hind legs. Now, when they do that, that's supposedly, quote unquote, not threatening because they're curious. This is how they figure out what's going on. But if it were me, the first thing I'd think of is this bear is threatening. But again, stay calm. Most bears do not want to attack humans. In fact, they don't even want you around. They just want to be left alone. So now here's the weird thing. This is where your poker skills may come in too. They may bluff you. They may bluff and charge right at you. Again, you thought you were calling upon your strength of will when it gets up on its hind legs to take a better close of you and sniff you. What about when it charges you and then they possibly might turn away at the last second? That's how they bluff. They turn away at the last second. They play a game of chicken, but they're the only one that is at a full speed run. So then, if you haven't soiled your denims by that time, you should keep talking to the bear not up here. Don't say like, hi, bear. Talk to him low in the air. Get your Barry White on. Just keep it cool, man. Everything's cool. Keep the bear calm. Just talk. Bring your voice down. Get that bass. Remember in Richard Pryor, he'd be outside hanging out, and his dad would come out and start yelling at him, and he'd talk back to his dad, and his dad would say, "Get the bass out of your Get the bass out of your voice, boy. Get the bass out of your voice." Well, this is the opposite. You want that bass in your voice, right? In other words, don't try to act like a bear. Don't try to pretend with like crazy bears. Like, when you're with your dog and you might bark at the dog and kid around with the dog, like you're throwing the rope and then he grabs the rope and he's tugging on it and you start growling. Grrr. Don't do that. Don't pretend you're a bear. Nor should you make a high-pitched sound. So to avoid much of this, you want to travel in groups, but the goal is to try to get as on higher ground as possible and make yourself as big as possible. If you've ever seen a grizzly, this is going to be a task for you, right? And then don't drop your backpack. Don't drop. When you're running at top speed, like I would be, don't drop your backpack. Because first of all, you might have some food in there, and that's bad. And then second of all, you're going to need all that stuff you had in there to survive, like bandages, first aid kit. All right, so now if the bear just stands there, just doesn't move, so you want to move slowly to the side, keeping your eye on the bear, but don't trip. Don't trip. But if you've ever been in some of these trails in the woods, they're not real wide. So I'm not really sure where you're going to go because there's usually logs and bushes and trees in the way. But no matter what, this moving sideways action to the bear, that's not threatening. What is threatening is if you run. That triggers them into chasing you. So again, if the bear comes after you, you got to stop. I think the lesson here of this whole vlog is never, ever, ever encounter bears. Never encounter a bear in any situation. Don't leave the house. Don't go to the park because I'm not sure how many people could stand there when a giant grizzly bear is threatening them. But anyway, think about this. If you're thinking about running, bears can run uphill and downhill. Think about this, uphill and downhill, as fast as a thoroughbred racehorse. You ain't getting away, son. You better try that stand and act big strategy. You better stand and walk sideways strategy. You ain't gonna run. Maybe like I would think. Here's the way I would think. I'd be thinking, well, if I run fast enough, I could grab a low branch, like in the cartoons. You know how they grab the branch and they spin up onto the branch, and then you'd be way up above the bear. That's what I would think. But that also is a bad idea. Why? Why should you not go up in a tree? Both black bears that I mentioned earlier and today's topic, grizzly bears, can climb trees. See, you're in their hood now, man. This is their territory. You ain't riding your bicycle around the city. You are on their turf. They know how to maneuver around. This is where they live. So here is my last piece of advice, right? In terms of before they potentially attack you. Never get between, I said this earlier, never get between the mother and the cub. Don't mess with the mama. Bad things will happen. All right, so let's get to it. Let's say they attack. Now, keep in mind, it's rare, but it happens. So if it's a brown bear or a grizzly bear, keep your backpack on and immediately play dead. So remember, this is important because we're about to change it up in a second here. But brown bears and grizzly bears keep everything on with you and play dead. And you do that by going down onto your stomach and put your hands behind your neck, like protect your neck and your lower part of your head, and then keep your legs out. Spread them out, like, spread your legs, because you don't want them to be able to turn you over, right? So you're making it difficult. You're kind of creating a stable base so they can't turn you over very easily. And this is probably where the guy got all scraped up and bruised up, because the bear was probably trying to attempt to turn him over. And if you've ever seen a grizzly paw, it's the size of Donald Trump's head, and or at least his ego. And the claws are huge. You're going to get cut up. You're going to get ready to bleed. So just keep staying still with your legs spread and your elbows, with that stable base. And then eventually, hopefully, typically, let's put it this way, typically they will give up, they'll lose interest and leave. So if you don't do that, if you all of a sudden start fighting this animal that outweighs you by hundreds and hundreds of pounds, that's when they fight back. So don't get them pissed off. Just lay down. Just be quiet. Don't do anything. Although, here's what the National Park Service recommends. If they keep at you, if an attack ensues, if it's like a hockey game and the fight breaks out, then you got to go at it. You got to pull the meanness out of you. You got to get the killer instinct going and fight back as hard as you can. Just you want to, anything that's around, your hand, your fist, a knife if you have one, like if you're carrying a walking stick, hit them as hard as you can in the face. Just hit them in the face, and just keep fighting. Because if it gets game on, your best bet is to fight as hard as possible, and you probably won't have a choice. So that's brown and grizzly bears. So one caveat is black bears. If it's a black bear, do not play dead. This is the opposite. Do not play dead, right? Try to get to your car, and some kind of internal place where you can protect yourself inside, like a building, an outhouse, a campsite, utility building, your car. But do not play dead. Again, you have to pull on that inner gangster and fight as hard as you can with anything available. If the black bear starts fighting you, don't lay down and play dead. That's not going to work out well for you. Fight back as hard as possible and try to kick them and punch them as hard as you can right in the face. Wow, folks! Again, congratulations to this guy in Montana. Oh, here we go. His name is Todd Orr. Todd. Good job, buddy. I don't know how you did that. I really don't know how you did that. This was just recently. Wow. Man, I'm still amazed. Folks, have you ever been attacked by a bear? Have you ever had any problems with the bear? Have you had any altercation with any grizzly, black, or brown bear in any capacity? Man, let us know. I really want to hear that story. Or for that matter, any wild animal that it got crazy. Like when they say when animals attack. I want to hear that story. Let me know in the comments, folks. That is all I have for now. And frankly, that's about all I can take. So don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.